Well, welcome to Christian Answers. This is Pastor Jeff Short, your Bible teacher and cultural analyst. And today we're going to be looking at an article from the British newspaper, The Guardian, that talks about a recent statement made by the former President Donald Trump's wife, Melania Trump, and her views on abortion. And these are very, very disturbing views coming from the wife of a president who was instrumental in resulting in the overturn of Roe v. Wade, the abortion decision of 1973. As Christians, we've been praying for the end of Roe v. Wade for decades. I remember attending college and in my seminary days, just praying almost every day for the end or overturning of Roe v. Wade, which was the infamous abortion decision in 1973 that basically legalized abortion in all 50 states. And it basically wiped away all restriction on abortion that some of the states had. Some were quite strict against abortion, and Roe v. Wade basically eliminated all these pro-life laws and cleared the way for the abortion holocaust that we've seen in the last 50 years. You know, all the blood of the babies murdered in their mother's womb, and much of that mischief comes from 1973 Roe v. Wade decision. Well, Donald Trump was instrumental in appointing 3 Supreme Court justices who eventually overturned Roe v. Wade a couple years ago. And so his wife, Melania, you would think would be sympathetic to the pro-life cause. But here we have clear evidence that she is not sympathetic to the pro-life cause. She's not operating under Christian principles of truth as found in the Word of God, the Bible. She is operating on a secular, humanistic, liberal, leftist, radical culture of death perspective. So within the Trump household, you have a cultural death, liberal, leftist, Melania Trump. And she's coming out with a book now, just before the election, in which she states her pro-abortion views of all things. So this is totally bizarre and totally, I think it's unprecedented for a wife of a candidate to come out with such contradictory and opposing views from what her husband is standing for and running for in the election. So she is not at all afraid to just come out and say, well, I totally disagree with my husband's policies and just contradict him. I don't know what's behind it, but as a Christian, I'm disturbed by it. And I'm disturbed by what I've seen of Donald Trump lately on the issue of abortion. But I'm more disturbed also about this Melania Trump statement about her abortion promotion views. So let me get into this article, and I'll try to speak from a Christian perspective, a biblical perspective, and try to make some sense of this. I don't know what to make of it as far as her actions right before the election. It's almost as if she's trying to basically torpedo Donald Trump's election, and she doesn't want to be living in the White House, I guess, in the next 4 years. She doesn't want that kind of life, and it's perfect opportunity for her to torpedo the presidential race and cause her husband to lose. It seems that that could be an interpretation of what she's doing. I don't know exactly what she's doing. That's one interpretation. That's one possibility. There is another alternative that I'll talk about later. But let's get into the article here. It says, Melania Trump passionately defends abortion rights in upcoming memoir. So she's writing a book about herself. Now, why release it right before her husband's presidential election vote? Why do that? Why now? It's really baffling. Exclusive. I have carried this belief with me throughout my entire adult life, former First Lady writes in memoir. Melania Trump's abortion views baffle both sides. So it is really strange. It is really bizarre that the First Lady, former First Lady, and possibly future First Lady is coming out against her husband and basically siding with his enemies and opponents. Melania made an extraordinary declaration as an allegedly eagerly awaited memoir to be published a month from Election Day. She is a passionate supporter of women's right to control her own body, including the right to abortion. So here we have a talking point, a liberal, leftist, pro-abortion, democratic, enemies of God talking point that is very disturbing from a Christian perspective. Let me explain. This is what she says. It is imperative to guarantee that women have autonomy in deciding their preference of having children based on their own convictions, free from any intervention or pressure from the government, the Republican nominee's wife writes, amid a campaign in which Donald Trump's threats to women's reproductive rights have played a central role. That is a myth, that he's threatening women's reproductive rights. Women have right now in the United States all the rights that they can exercise in reproducing. It's not about whether a woman has the right to reproduce or not. The question is, does a woman have the right to kill a child in her womb? So by the time the child is in the womb, it's already reproduction has occurred. So you can't decide, should I reproduce or not after reproduction has occurred? That's just simple logic. And a lot of the people on the left totally omit that logic. They fail to, or they purposely neglect thinking that through. They're saying, well, we want reproductive rights. You have reproductive rights. But once the baby is born, once the baby is in your womb, it's a living human being according to human rights, and you don't have the right to kill another human being, right? Isn't that what our Constitution says? You have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, your pursuit of happiness cannot mean that you have the right to kill someone else if their body is in your way. So let's dissect this. It is imperative to guarantee that women have autonomy. Okay, yes, to a degree. You mean total autonomy? You think women should have total freedom to do whatever they want to do with their children? They can kill their baby, 1-month-old baby, if they get frustrated with it. Total autonomy? No, nobody has total autonomy in this life. You can't do anything that would harm another person. I don't have total autonomy to drive my car into a crowd. That would violate the rights of those people in the crowd. So, a woman does not have the right to kill a baby that is in her womb and claim that she has autonomy to do that. No, you have autonomy, but it doesn't mean you can kill. It doesn't mean that you can injure. So there are limits to rights. You have a right to autonomy, but you don't have unlimited right to autonomy. That's the point. And that's what Melania Trump is failing to see. She's just buying into the talking points. She says it should be free from any intervention or pressure from the government. So you don't want the government restricting anyone's right to autonomy at all. So the government can't intervene in a 1-month-old child's life when the mother is trying to kill the 1-month-old child. You don't want the government to be able to step in. You don't want police to be able to come and rescue the child. No, you need to think through this. You're simply repeating foolishness. And Melania Trump is simply repeating the talking points of the left, the foolish talking points. Here's what else she says. Why should anyone other than the woman herself have the power to determine what she does with her own body? Anyone other than the woman herself? What about God? Does God have the right to tell a woman, no, you cannot kill your child? Yes, God has that right. God is almighty. Almighty means he is above all authorities. He is the authority. He is the standard. So she's actually arguing that women should have absolute, total power to do whatever they want to do with their bodies. And even God himself can't tell her what to do. This is almost satanic freedom. And we don't want that, because we don't want people, women, anyone, running around with the attitude that he or she can do anything they want to do, and nobody can tell them what to do. Yes, that is what morality does, is it tells us what we want to do, and it doesn't always conform to what we want to do. So if you're going to have morality in society, which is a good thing, then you can't have this attitude of, I have total absolute power over my body. What about the body of the baby in the womb? Does that baby count for anything? Now, if you say, no, the baby doesn't count for anything, then you're denying the image of God teaching in the Bible. So this is what's so disturbing. Melania Trump is supposed to be a Christian of sorts. She's supposed to be a Catholic, Roman Catholic. And if she were a Roman Catholic, she would know that her church teaches that the baby in the womb is made in the image of God, just like everyone else is made in the image of God. So you don't have the right to kill the baby in the womb made in the image of God just because you don't want the baby. You can put it up for adoption. You can marry the father of the child if you both agree, and then raise the child. You can do all kinds of different things, but you cannot kill that baby. That baby has a right to life, because that baby is made in the image of God. A woman's fundamental right of individual liberty to her own life grants her the authority to terminate her pregnancy if she wishes. No, it doesn't. It does not. There is no God-given right that says a woman can kill her baby. I'm sorry. Melania Trump is simply repeating mindlessly the arguments of the left. Melania Trump is not thinking for herself. She's letting the talking points of the left determine her thinking. This is a sign of a weak person, a weak-willed person, who is just trying to win the approval of the crowd. This is wrong on so many levels. Also, she's not being loyal to her husband. How about just not saying anything about your views if they are radically different from your husband? Guess what? He's trying to win the presidential election coming up. It would really be helpful if you didn't come out with these understandings right now. If you love your husband, if you care about his election, if you care about our country, it would be wise if you just didn't speak. It leads me to question whether she really loves her husband now, and whether she really wants him to win. Because if she doesn't want him to win, or if she doesn't love him, or if she's planning on leaving him or divorcing him, maybe she told him, if you run for president and win, I'm divorcing you. I don't know. But this is something you would do if you didn't care about your husband, and you didn't care about him winning, and you didn't want to be in the White House another 4 years. This is exactly the thing you would do. You would foolishly contradict him, and at the same time promote baby killing, and basically trot out all the leftist talking points about abortion. You could go to Planned Parenthood and find this same talking point. You could go to the radical left and find this same talking point. I wonder if she's even going to vote for Trump. Because if she's so concerned about abortion rights, Trump is not the one you would vote for. Harris is the one you would vote for. So if this is really near and dear to her heart, this issue, she's not even voting for her husband, Donald Trump. She's a Democrat. She may be registered Democrat. I don't know. She may have contributed. Um, I think he was saying in an interview that she did try to contribute to some organizations and they wouldn't take her money. So they hate her. They hate her husband. They don't want Melania Trump's money. And she's still trying to win their approval. This is really incredible. Well, she's getting what she deserves, I guess. Restricting a woman's right to choose whether to terminate an unwanted pregnancy is the same as denying her control over her body. No, it isn't. She has every bit of control. She can choose to have sex or not. She can choose to whether she's going to expose herself to activity that produces pregnancy. When a woman gets pregnant as a result of sex, that is perfectly natural and normal. That is the will of God. It isn't something strange. Women have been getting pregnant for thousands of years, and it's the process. It's the result of a process, and everybody knows what the process is. And if you get pregnant after having sex, don't act surprised, and don't act like you have the right then to kill the baby. The baby is the baby. You don't have control over that baby's body. You can do anything you want with your own body. You can put tattoos on it, like a lot of women do. Put different clothes on it. But you can't violate the rights of the baby now that is living within you, because that would be murder, and that is murder. I have carried this belief, she says, with me throughout my entire life. Well, it's time to change. It's time to begin to take your Christian faith, if you have it, seriously, and begin to look at God's will and not just figure out what the popular views are or what the wave of the future. A lot of people put their hand up and try to find out which way the wind is blowing and then join that direction because they want to be with the current. And that's just a sellout. Melania Trump has rarely expressed political views in public. That's right. Which is kind of a good policy for a first lady or the wife of a political candidate. Keep your own views to yourself, especially if they contradict to your husband. This is so common sense. This is just basic wisdom. Her book, Melania, which reveals the former First Lady to be so firmly out of step with most of her own party, will be published in the U.S. next Tuesday. The Guardian obtained a copy. Her decision to include a full-throated expression of support for abortion rights is remarkable, not just given her proximity to the Republican candidate running on an anti-abortion platform, but also given the severe deterioration of women's reproductive rights under the Donald Trump and the GOP. That is really a false statement. There isn't a severe deterioration of women's reproductive rights. Almost all of the abortions that ever would have taken place still take place, unfortunately. There are some states, a few states, that restrict abortion. But if a woman wanted an abortion, she could simply go out of state and get it at some state that doesn't have any restrictions. Like New York State has basically unrestricted abortion rights. California is another example. And then Illinois, and you have them all over the country. There is not a severe deterioration of women's reproductive rights. That is the fear-mongering that's taking place on the left. And it's gotten people all hysterical. But Donald Trump is not this bad ogre that they're painting him out to be. In the 2020, the Supreme Court case Dobbs versus Jackson, 3 justices installed when Donald Trump was president voted to strike down Roe v. Wade. That's a blessing that it was struck down. The ruling, which has protected federal abortion rights since 1973, Republican-run states have since instituted a draconian abortion bans. They have tried to stop the killing of babies in the womb, yes, which is a good thing. Donald Trump tried to both take credit for Dobbs' decision along the central aim of evangelical and conservative Catholic donors and voters. Exactly. And avoid the fury that it has stoked, saying abortion rights should be decided by the states. So that's his position. Very reasonable. It actually is in line with the Constitution because the Constitution does not give a woman the right to kill her own baby. Just as it would not give her the right to kill her 1-month-old child or her 1-year-old child. But Democrats have scored a succession of election wins by campaigning on the issue, even in conservative states, and threats to reproductive rights, among them threats to fertility treatments, including IVF, are proving problematic for Republicans up and down this year's ticket. Yes, after fear-mongering, advertisement, and propaganda, women are being told that their rights are being stripped away. You don't have a right to kill babies. It never was a right. Amid a blizzard of statement opponents deem misogynistic and regressive, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump's pick for vice president, has indicated he would support a national abortion ban, a move it seems his boss's wife would be against. Yeah. Abortion ban is the humane thing to do. Yeah, you stop all baby slaughter. You stop pretending that a woman has the right to execute her child whenever she wants. Women have a lot of rights, but one of the rights they should never ever have is the right to murder. You don't get a free right to murder card, and you can murder that child all the way up until the time of birth. And even after birth, in some instances, there are Democrats who are talking about, well, if an abortion is attempted and the baby still is born and it's alive, you could just leave it to die. And I guess Melania Trump would be for that too, because she didn't say anything, limits. She didn't put any limits to her views. This is not Christian. And if she's going to go around calling herself a Christian, she needs to do a lot of explaining and say, okay, if you're a Christian, why are you advocating for the murder of a baby? Don't you believe all life is precious? Don't you believe all life is made in the image of God? Don't you believe the biblical teaching, the Christian teaching? If you do, stop mouthing democratic, left-wing, pagan, culture of death talking points. Donald Trump himself recently got into a tangle over whether he would vote in November to protect abortion rights in Florida, a ballot his wife will also cast given their residence in Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach. He eventually said he would vote no. Judging by her own words, Melania Trump appears likely to vote yes. So again, there's this disunity in the Trump family that seems to indicate that Melania Trump, she doesn't care if this damages her husband's election bid. In fact, she seems to be willing his defeat because maybe she doesn't want to go through that whole experience again. She's been there, done that. Maybe she says, this is my way to control our family's destiny. I'm going to target and torpedo his presidential bid. I'm going to come out with a book that says I'm for abortion. And I'm going to totally discourage and disturb his pro-life Christian base. Now, there's another theory as to why she might have come out and expressed her pro-abortion views. And that is that it's actually a strategy of the Trump campaign that that they reach out to pro-abortion women and say, see, you can still believe in abortion and vote for Trump because Melania is married to Trump and she has her abortion views and they differ from Trump, but she's still going to support him. But I'm not sure. That doesn't make any sense to me because I don't believe that there's one single woman in the whole country who's pro-abortion, who favors killing babies, who will say, "Oh, Melania Trump, she's okay with Donald Trump, even though he's against abortion. So maybe I'll vote for Trump, like Melania." But I'm not. Again, I'm not even sure that Melania Trump is going to vote for her husband. This is something else she wrote. Melania Trump said, "My body, my choice." And this, again, is the entire Democratic. This is almost their holy grail, abortion. So she is at heart a Democrat, liberal, leftist, social Marxist. She is within her heart a pro-abortion, culture of death advocate. Now, the weird thing about this is that a lot of first ladies, of husbands who are pro-life, were actually pro-abortion. So if you look at George H.W. Bush, Barbara Bush was pro-abortion, even though George Bush, the elder, was pro-life. And then you have George W. Bush, and then you have Laura Bush, who is pro-abortion. Very liberal leftists on this issue. And you have Ronald Reagan before both of them, and Nancy Reagan, who was pro-abortion. So you have this long string of First Lady Republican who are pro-abortion. So there's disunity. That's the problem that Melania Trump is doing. She is sowing disunity in the Republican Party because she's confusing women. She's saying, well, wait, I thought we were the party of life. I thought we were the pro-life party. I thought we were against abortion. Isn't abortion killing babies? And yet Melania is now for abortion. She's saying that women have the right to kill their baby. So it's sowing seeds of confusion. As Christians, we need to say, Melania Trump is wrong. She is so deadly wrong. And there's no excusing what she's doing. And she's acting foolish. She's acting selfish. In order to express her views, she's putting herself first before her husband and his presidential candidacy. And if he loses by a very slim margin, it'll be possibly her fault, because she is not going to win pro-abortion women to Trump. More likely, she's going to lose pro-life women to Trump. Because pro-life people are finally going to say, hey, I am so sick of this Trump family. You have Melania is for abortion. Trump is like wavering on it now. So I don't know. I don't want to vote for him. I don't want to support him. I am going to vote for Trump, but I don't like what's happening here. We'll see you back next week on another edition of Christian Answers. God bless.